All right. Hi, everyone. So this is Robby Favuzza. He's a sophomore on the Emmanuel College men's lacrosse team, and he recently ran in and completed the Boston Marathon. And I'm just here to catch up with him a little bit about his experience running in the marathon and training for it.
Thank you for having me.
So when and why did you start running recreationally?
I would say mostly influenced through my dad. He was a big runner, and when I was younger, he would always take me on runs on Saturdays. And I was introduced to the track team in middle school, and I just got involved that way. But it's really a good time just to like clear your mind, and you're really just by yourself, and there's no one else. It gives you a time to just really think.
Yeah, just quiet space. Um,
Exactly.
have you ever run competitively in the past? And if so, what was your first experience running competitively like?
I would say so. In middle school, I was able to get to the Junior Olympics, and that was like the first time that I actually felt like it was like competitive, and like that was the first time I was like I got butterflies in my stomach because I knew that like if I didn't perform that day, that like I could not like run the next weekend. So that was really like the first time that like I knew that I had to like show out.
Yep. So what does your normal running schedule for a week look like? And how did that change as you got closer to like coming up upon the marathon?
Um, Usually I would run like I would say 12 to 15 miles throughout Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays, every other week would be like typically a longer run. So like say like 8, and then the next week would be like 12. And then I'd go back down to like 9 and then increase to 15.
Yep.
But then closer towards the marathon, I wasn't really running that much during the week. Was really only doing like longer runs on the weekend to just preserve my legs really and just like get them used to running that long distance.
Yep. That makes complete sense. So what made you make the decision to run in the marathon?
Since I was a kid, like just watching my dad, I knew I always wanted to do it one day. And this year I finally had the opportunity to do it, and I've always wanted to do my first one with him. So I didn't really know, like he's getting older now, so I didn't really know how many more he was going to be able to do. And I was like, this is a perfect year, so I just kind of went with it,
Yeah,
and I was glad I did.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So how long before the Boston Marathon did you actually decide that you wanted to run in it? Was it like a couple months before, or did you know like almost a full year in advance?
um my dad asked me probably right around like November, December time, and he was like, if you like, I kind of need to know now if you want to do it, because like I started training in January for it.
Yep.
So like I needed to like get my stuff in and like start my training so that I would be prepared for that day.
Yep. So how would you describe your experience training for a marathon? Like, is it much different than what you normally like to do, which is just like get out and run for like 4 or 5 miles? Like, was it
Yeah,
more intense?
the long distance was hard because like I was by myself, so like it does kind of like it is nice, and it has its like trade-offs running by yourself and running alone, I would say. So like the toughest part for me was just the long runs, like getting them through. But I knew that if I didn't do them, then I would be struggling that day. So
Yep.
that's kind of what got me through it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So when you decided that you did want to run, were you worried that it would interfere with lacrosse, not necessarily time wise, more so like physically? Like, did you think you would be like down and out for like 3, 4 days after you finished just because you'd be so sore, or were you pretty confident that you'd be like good to go in a couple days?
I honestly I was kind of the opposite. I did think I was gonna be ready faster than I was after I ran. I thought I was gonna have like no downtime. I thought I was gonna be able to finish and then maybe go to practice that in that same day if the timing worked out. But I like I definitely could not have done that. I needed a couple of days rest after for my
Yeah.
body and for my legs, because you really don't understand like what your legs go through when you run for that long. Like
And
I
it's
appreciate that.
crazy to think about. A lot of people that are watching this aren't going to know, but you played in a game and started 2 days after running the marathon, which is really very impressive. So
Thank you. Thank you.
kudos to you for that. So,
Thank you.
what was your experience actually like running the Boston Marathon? What was the best part, and what would you say the worst part was?
Honestly, the best part is gonna be cliche, but I would just say the finish line. Honestly, like just finally getting there and like crossing and just like seeing everyone cheering. And my mom was actually like right around the corner, so I'd seen her right before, and then we took that left on Boylston, and then we finally crossed, and just was like all the work has been done, and like this is all you've been waiting for through your training. But the worst part was definitely around like mile 18 because that was like the longest I'd ever done in my training. So
Yep.
I was like, all right, from like here on out, like this is what we'll see what happens. So it was just like all mental from there.
Yeah, you were just kind of trying to gut it out and get the rest of the
Yeah,
way through. You were already so close.
exactly.
So, what did it feel like when you finally completed the marathon and crossed the finish line?
It was like just that feeling because I had like past years I had jumped in like done the last mile with them and like been there and like seen all that experience like past the finish line and stuff like that. But when you actually do it and you're actually getting that medal, like it feels so worth it. And like really I believe anyone could do it and it's really worth it.
That's awesome. So, would you run the Boston Marathon again? Why or why not?
I would, but I definitely would not do it during lacrosse season again. I think I would wait till I like graduate college and like actually like have that off time to train and like
Yep.
prepare my body.
Yeah. Um, it's so when you do run one again, foreseeably in the future, do you think you'll start training a little bit earlier, like more ahead of time, earlier
Um,
than like a couple months, or did you feel like the way you trained yourself to like get ready for this one was adequate?
I think I had a good plan strategy set up with January, February, and like through those 4 months, even just in that month of April, like with the marathon. And I think I was ready, but I could have been like a little bit more consistent with like the stuff in the weeks because it was hard with the cross practice. So like I would just be counting like I would say like, oh yeah, I think I ran about like 4 or 5 miles today at practice. So I would kind of count that as some days of running because I
Okay.
wouldn't be able to get out there when it would be light out.
Yep. And in the future, after you're out of college, like you said, and you have like more time to train and stuff like that, is there anything that you feel like you do differently the next time you're preparing yourself for a marathon versus this time?
Yeah, like this time I tried running with my dad, so like I was at his pace, which is obviously I think it's a little bit like his pace is a little bit slower than what I could have ran it at.
Yep.
So like next time I think I would be training like at my pace because honestly I think that that kind of hurt me when I was running because it's hard to run at someone else's pace. Like it does stuff to you because like you're just trying to be with them, but like when you could go faster maybe.
Yep.
And so like I think I would just train a little bit faster and like see what I could actually get for a time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Robbie. I appreciate your time.
Thank you again for having me.
Oh, of course.